What's up, everybody? This is Igor in Russia. I'm here with a very special friend of mine, Moscow photographer, and we're going to be discussing with Eddie here about his journey from Texas to Russia and becoming the real Muscovite. I think you are a real Muscovite already. Of course, you're more than me. That the Muscovich. If you're new to the channel, I'm a foreigner traveling from the West to Russia, filming the exceptional country of Russia, St. Petersburg, Moscow, and tons of places. Subscribe now, and also do yourself a favor, subscribe also to
Moscow photographer channel.
You can see the link right below in the title. We're gonna go inside this Izmailovo Kremlin.
Let's go check it out. I fell in love with a girl and I fell in love with Russia.
Typical American, always selling something.
They will literally take the shirt off their back and give it to you. You know, marriage in Russia is entirely bureaucratic. No, I'm an immigrant. I am an immigrant to Russia now. So in Russia, men are expected to be men.
What about the money?
What about it? Russians are afraid of spices. Yes, I said it, and if you're Russian, I'm sorry. Washington doesn't necessarily represent Americans. I get a lot of negativity from some folks who have never even left their mom's basement. But it doesn't have that hot. The only Mexican beer imported to Russia, it's Corona. For those of you who are interested in maybe coming to Russia, here's what I would recommend that you pack. What did I bring when I moved to Russia? When the sanctions hit, Russia had an oh shit moment.
All right, we're now in the Izmailovo, I think. This is Izmailovo, and we're gonna go to super awesome place. You've been there before, I've been there before, but you guys are gonna love it even more with two of your favorite YouTubers in the one scene. First off, who are you and what's your story?
So, my name is Eddie. I am the Moscow photographer from Texas. And yes, I was born and raised in Texas. So I've been living here in Moscow for about a year and a half. I'm married to a wonderful Russian wife, and I make YouTube videos. Maybe you've seen one or two. If you haven't, go check them out. You'll find the link down below.
So Eddie and Texas, now here Moscow, how did you end up in Russia and Moscow out of all places?
Well, I met my wife back in 2017 on Facebook, and in 2018 I traveled to Russia for the very first time. And as they say, I fell in love with a girl and I fell in love with Russia and with Moscow as well. So now, fast forward a few years, and now we are married and we make our home here in Moscow. So the road from Texas to Moscow is a long road. It started in 2020 when I proposed to my now wife, and I was getting ready to move here to Moscow, and something happened. You may have heard of it. It's called COVID. Shut the whole world down. So for 2 years we couldn't travel. And so finally, fast forward till 2022, and I arrive at Sheremetyevo Airport on February 23rd, and we all know what happened on February 24th. It has changed the world dramatically. The relationships between East and West countries has been, if you ask me, damaged, changed for sure. It affects me, it affects my wife, it affects Russians, it affects Americans. And it was because of that reason I decided that I wanted to start a YouTube channel to show my family and my friends back in Texas that a lot of the stories that they were hearing about Moscow, about Russia, were just propaganda, and nothing was happening here. Everything was safe, everything was normal. So I started my YouTube channel as a way to share stories about my life here in Russia, mainly for my family and friends. And now, thank God, my family and friends has expanded to over 12,000 subscribers. I hope that if you are not a subscriber and you are watching this for the first time, please subscribe.
Typical American, always selling something, always. What about the friends that you showed the reality? Do they call you a propagandist? Do they believe you? Or what are the reactions that I know can come up among the people that watch only certain truth?
So it's interesting because, you know, my family and friends really don't say anything to me. So I really don't need, I don't even know if they watch my channel. They probably don't. But They don't say anything negative to me about it.
You've been living here for like 4 years on off?
Off and on
Time.
for about 4 years, yeah.
What are the biggest culture shocks of as an American
Oof.
in Russia?
You know, the biggest hurdles are going to be language. And if you're not prepared to read Cyrillic, if you're not prepared to at least know a few words so that you can convey hello, goodbye, please, thank you, and so forth, it might be a little difficult for you. But I find that Russians are very accommodating, and they will help you if they know that you are at least trying to learn the language. They will literally take the shirt off their back and give it to you. They are that giving and that compassionate. See what I mean?
But is that actually like a difference with America? Americans would not do that to a stranger.
Good question. So I lived in an area of Texas where we had a large immigrant population from Mexico. And so, as you know, primary language in Mexico is Spanish. Primary language in America is English. So these two cultures sometimes clash, even though they've had close relations for hundreds of years. But still, if a Mexican comes into the United States and starts speaking broken English, many times Americans will look down upon this person. Instead of wanting to help them, they'll look at them as an immigrant, possibly as something less than they are. And as an immigrant here in Russia, I don't see that same attitude from Russians as I would see from some Americans toward immigrants in America.
What about Caucasus area people, which in Russia?
Now, the Caucasus region, these are my people because I am Caucasian.
Like Armenia.
Caucasus.
Yeah. You mean like the
Yeah,
other people?
I'm Caucasus. I'm Caucasian.
Now I got it.
So with regard to people from the Caucasus regions, you know, these are my people. These are Armenians, Georgians, and people from the South Caucasus regions of Russia. Uzbek, Tajik, yes. And so we share some similarities in culture between their culture and the Mexican Spanish culture. And so to me, this is home. I love the food. I love their customs. And plus, I look like them. So when I'm there, I feel like home.
You were married actually in Russia, in ZOX, as
What?
they say in Russia. So what's that experience like? And I know Russia is a bureaucratic country. Is there any, surprises you want to tell us, or positive surprises? It's your choice.
You know, marriage in Russia is entirely bureaucratic. Marriage in Russia, unlike in the United States, you usually get married in a church. But in Russia, you get married in a bureaucratic government office. And basically, you sign a piece of paper that says, I'm married to this person. So marriage in Russia, when you're in this government office, you know, there's really not a lot of love. There's not a lot of closeness. It's really just business of signing the piece of paper. But after you go from Zags and you go to your reception, this is where the fun and the happiness and the love happens. But yeah, a wedding is a wedding. I don't care what country you're from. It's all about families coming together. It's about love. It's about happy feelings. And as a wedding photographer back in Texas and wedding photographer now in Moscow, I love weddings. Happiest day of anybody's life.
You do know that you have also the Orthodox wedding thing, which is like they can be two separate things fulfilling each other. Meaning you go to ZOX and then you go to, so to speak, in front of God and do the same thing, but it's like very traditional. And So I would add that there's this part as well. But
So in the United States, so marriage, a lot of marriages happen in churches. And after the church ceremony, somewhere in the church, you sign a document that's exactly similar to what we signed at Zags, but without the religious ceremony. So it's all the same thing. It's all good.
and here we are, guys. This is Izmailovo, Kremlin. This is, I think, one of, well, a lot of tourists like to come here. Even Eddie, who's not a tourist in Russia anymore.
No, I'm an immigrant. I am an immigrant to Russia now.
What about the American versus Russian family traditions, or like man-woman relations? What's the biggest differences that you want to tell the viewers?
So in Russia, men are expected to be men. And it should sound strange for a Westerner to be saying this, but it really means that. In Russia, not only are you expected to be a man, you better be a man. And what this means is you open doors for the ladies. You carry her bags. It means you pay for things. This means that you are the man. You are the head of the household. And you are given permission. And this is something that is different from the West, is that you are given permission to be the man. And what this means is that in the West, there's many times where if you maybe try to help somebody, a woman, maybe with her bags, and you didn't ask, you may be rebuked for that and say, "What are you doing? I don't need help." In Russia, they don't even have to ask. It's expected. So there is a big difference. Chivalry is alive and well in Russia, and I love it because this is how I naturally am, and so I'm just being me.
What about the money?
What about it? So, what are some of the more traditional things that are required of a man? Well, to bring flowers, and you are expected to pay. Pay for dinner, pay for going out, things like this. This is just natural. A lot of times, if you're dating back in America, many times, the woman might turn to the guy and say, "Are we going to split this?" Or, "No, I don't want you paying for me." And I think that there is some expectation on the woman's part that if the man pays, then he's expecting something. And here in Russia, the woman isn't expecting anything other than for you to pay. It doesn't mean anything else. But I think in the West, there's some connotation that, well, hey, I bought you dinner, so now you owe me something. Totally different here.
What about your previous home? Do you miss home? Or
Yes, there are some things that I miss about Texas. First of all, I have 2 children. They're adult children, but they're still my kids. They're still babies to me, and I do miss them. So, yes. The other thing I miss is authentic, traditional Tex-Mex foods that I just can't get here because Russians are afraid of spices. Yes, I said it, and if you're Russian, I'm sorry if I insulted you, but you guys, y'all just don't know spices, man.
what about Georgian food? Not spicy enough?
Georgian food is very, very good. Вкусно, очень вкусно, but it still doesn't, it's spicy, but it doesn't have that hot bite that I want as a Mexican.
I was just yesterday asked in a stream that can you get a good tortilla or tacos. I said it's not popular in Russia. In St. Petersburg, Moscow, you can. There probably is few, but compared to what other cuisines, how much are they represented? The Russians' favorite, Italian, Georgian, sushi, many more. Way underrated.
Well, those cuisines are much more popular.
And those countries also.
And the countries as well. But Mexico, Latin American food, not that popular. It does exist. There are several good restaurants here in the Moscow area where you can get authentic Mexican cuisine. But however, the spices aren't exactly accurate because either they just can't get them or I don't know. And the only Mexican beer you can get, the only Mexican beer imported to Russia is, what is it? It's Corona. Well, Corona's real Mexican beer. However, it's like a cheap beer, you know?
I love it.
I'd rather have a different Mexican beer, but it's all right.
What's the best? What should I try?
I like a Dos Equis and I like a Modelo would be good. Yeah.
Are there like lagers, do they have?
Modelo is like a lager, and your Dos Equis is more like it's heavier than Corona, but it's still considered maybe like a light beer.
We're gonna find maybe here in Izmailovo, Kremlin.
We gotta find
well, some beer at least.
Baranina.
Right, so Eddie, you moved to Russia from Texas. Did you bring all your belongings? And if you did, or whatever you did took, what's that process like to somebody who actually plans? There's got to be a lot of good tips. And Russia is trying to make itself very welcoming to people's traditional values and etc. So please tell us.
Very good question, Igor. When I first moved here to Russia, I brought 2 suitcases full, 23 kilos. 1 suitcase full of camera equipment, 1 suitcase full of clothes, and my cat. So yes, I had an 8 kilo cat from Texas, my cat Titan, and he's the most important thing that I brought from Texas. But for those of you who are interested in maybe coming to Russia, here's what I would recommend that you pack. And that's absolutely nothing. Come with as little as you possibly can. Clothes for maybe 3-4 days. Travel as light as you can and bring your absolute, what you must have. Other than that, buy everything else here. Especially if you come in the winter, buy your winter clothes here, because winter clothes for the US are not the same as for Russian winter. Buy your winter clothes here. Your summer clothes and all that other stuff, you can buy it here too, and you can buy it fairly inexpensively. So come with very minimal clothing. Bring your absolute precious possessions. I brought my camera equipment because my camera equipment earns money for me, so that's why I brought. So you got to prioritize.
And technology or equipment in Russia can be even more expensive than in the West.
That is very true, although AliExpress is your friend if you're into technology. But this is a good opportunity, and I will thank Igor for this opportunity to come and meet with you, his audience. And I want to tell you about something exciting that I have just started recently. President Putin has recently signed a decree that makes a path forward for immigration into Russia a little easier. And because of that decree, and because of the flood of questions that I have received from my viewers, I have started a personal concierge and travel consulting service. And if this is something that you might be interested in, if you're wanting to come to Russia, and you're thinking you may want to live here, I encourage you to visit first. And visit the website. This is www.worryfreerussia.com. And go in there, look at the website, and your first consultation with me, 15 minutes, is absolutely free. You can see if the service that I provide may be good for you, may be right for you. I think there's a lot of interest from people in the West in wanting to move to Russia. But first, I suggest you visit.
This has been a great day with Eddie, Moscow photographer, and of course, in this beautiful scenery, I want to thank you so much for being and talking to us.
My pleasure. Thank you so much.
If you haven't subscribed to Moscow Photographer, the link is below. Subscribe for more content from Eddie. And of course, if you're new to my channel, haven't still subscribed, do the same for me. I see you guys in the next episode somewhere in Russia, maybe Moscow, maybe St. Petersburg, and maybe Voronezh or somewhere else. See you guys, Eddie, later on, right?
We'll see you. Yes, we will. Пока. Loud Russians. Loud Russians.
Eddie. I Peterburgets. Can you say that?
Нет.
Peterburgets. Petersburgian.
Санкт-Петербург.
Oh man, the good stuff here. But you've heard. Anyway.
Washington doesn't. So what we have seen in America is that Washington doesn't necessarily represent Americans. I hope that if you are not a subscriber and you are watching this for the first time, please subscribe and give a like and share this video with your family and friends.